I want to talk specifically today about the glory of God and how it's affected my life. If you don't know me yet, my name is Robyn, and I am a ritual abuse survivor, a believer in Christ who has been healed, delivered, and deprogrammed. He healed me and told me to share my healing, and that is what I try my very best to do. We have been doing a series on how God healed me, which is, the information is good for everyone. However, it is geared more to these specific survivors. On this video, I want to step away from that for a minute and share with you the glory of God. What I talk about in that other series is that God taught me how to have a prayer schedule 4 hours a day, so that the rest of the day I could act normally and I could push away the memories, feelings, sudden urges to do things that are unhealthy. I could push that away and just focus for 4 hours a day, just me and Him, sort of in a bubble. It did take me a minute. It did. I had to sit there for a long time just being grateful before He would even allow me to deal with any of the memories, which is kind of the key, because I somehow managed to surrender all. I'm not necessarily any better at surrendering all as anyone else. I find that a lot of times we think we surrender all and we really haven't. I get that. I've done that. However, I did it right for once. And God taught me a lot of great things. So I would go in a bubble with Him and I would have to process these memories of satanic ritual abuse. It was not easy. It did hurt. However, when He kept me in a bubble and showed me what happened to me as a child, it explained a lot to me from an adult perspective. As a child, I thought that bad men had swords that they'd stab you with. I didn't get it. And I don't think even as an adult, if I was ever in that type of situation, I could grasp it, because you are so overpowered. However, when I processed it in a bubble with Jesus and Him explaining it to me step by step, letting me take breaks, letting me just sit there, letting me cry, letting me ask the same questions over and over again. He's so patient. He really is. When I managed to surrender all, He started teaching me things. Like the fact that pedophilia is not human. A lot of people look at SRA and they're like, oh, that's just a bunch of crazy pedophiles doing their thing. No, it's not. Pedophilia is one of the many results of satanic ritual abuse. Adam and Eve didn't say, hey, let's get it on with our kids. It's not human. It's not what we were created to be. It's an enemy distortion that historically began in rituals. I know that now pedophilia is a bigger problem because young men, or men in general, may have been exposed to this via the internet. They see it and then their brain is open to this. It's not good. It takes some praying to get it off. So there are more pedophiles now than they've ever been in history, because we do have these images and videos available. That's horrible. But since so many people have seen this, they could have been infected with these sorts of spirits. Also, He taught me that things are not as complicated. The occult does something that most people can't do, and then they work very hard to arrange it to look like they're doing profoundly more than they are. For me, I believed fully that they were completely dominant, because I would go to bed in my bed at night, and then they would wake me up in a sudden jolt and put me in a hypnotic trance. They would keep me in the trance until I was in their environment and they were ready to. And generally, they would have me drink something that would intoxicate me, so that when I came out of the trance, I was intoxicated. And I was 6. I didn't know what a drunk person was. How was I supposed to understand that? After that, they would have activities that were so unthinkably cruel and mind-boggling that I couldn't deal with it. You can't. These people are being buried alive in a schedule and brought back, drowned in a schedule. Like on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, they'll wake up and be drowning. And then they will put you back, drug you, put you back into a trance, and then back in your bed. That's exactly the way they did it with me, and it's a very common way of their doing it. They made it seem like they were so dominant. Only thing they had was drugs, hypnosis, and brutality. That's all. He explained to me that SRA is the systematic destruction of mankind. Well, that sounds really big, but what happens is these people stop having the ability to think independently. I've covered that in another video. And then they pump us full of it with TV. I've done a video on that one too. And it gives us the feeling that we have to follow. Yes, we have to follow, but not our leaders and not the movie stars, not Walt Disney, none of that. We follow Jesus because the world is corrupt. And he breaks us from that reality, and we're so far from it that it has become a distortion. SRA is way more common. And the same things that I was programmed, mind control programmed, to think as a child during the abuse, I see on TV every time I turn it on. Takes me hours to find something to watch on Netflix. We just don't even watch any of it hardly anymore. Some YouTube, sometimes a little bit too much YouTube, but generally speaking, you just can't watch TV anymore. I don't know if you ever could, maybe in the 50s, but that wasn't right either. I asked a lot of why questions, and he answered me repeatedly sometimes, and sometimes I would need to know specifically why this happened, what that happened, why this, why did my parents do what they did, why were they allowed to, why is the enemy allowed to take a child, God's creation, a gift to their family, and systematically distort them? Why? I asked him those questions. Sure I did, and he answered all of them. In my case, my parents had some flaws. My mother had a background in witchcraft. She had left. My father was not directly into witchcraft, but there was a lot of it around him and a lot of general dysfunction for him. We were extremely poor because of his dysfunction. It was the perfect setup. They suckered me right in there. The reason that people choose this is for the power. They do get magical power. They do things, yes. Nothing in comparison to the Almighty. It's all a minor distortion of the power of the Almighty God. However, people get scared. They get hurt. Tornadoes can come and just tear us up. Wars happen, everything. They're trying to protect themselves and their families. So they make deals. They make deals with creatures who fell from heaven. They know a lot of stuff. They were in heaven with God, and they know a bunch of stuff. They can't do half what he can do. They can't do a fragment of what he can do. However, they tend to impress people sometimes. And so these enemies of ours, they talk these people into systematically destroying mankind. They've weakened us to the point where, y'all, people are mean. It seems that we live in a sociopathic society sometimes, and this is why. Because these same things that were being mind controlled into me as a child are being pumped out via the television. All that magic is real. They're just not telling you how much they cost. Because as I said, these people are scared. They want the power to protect themselves. And they pay with the children. And blood. And the children's blood. And just screams. And a ritual that they do is a systematic group of activities to cause a specific effect. The enemy likes it because mankind is being destroyed by it. This goes really bad. And many of them will come out and come to the Lord and find a new glorious life. And when they do, they talk about the imprisonment that these activities gave them. It's terrible. It's a very warring, hard, hell-like culture in witchcraft. It's not all about mixing up a little herbs and making somebody look at you twice. No, it's not sweet. It's not like it is on TV. It's blood, it's suffering, and it's a war. They got to knock each other down. The power is addictive. Oh, the stories these people tell, I didn't even take it to that level. And knowing that gave me a feeling that I wasn't, because when you're in it, you feel like you have the worst case ever. You have it. I was like, no one's ever suffered as bad as I have. No, let me tell you, there's a lot worse. And in a sense, that did make me feel better, but it also didn't at all, because people are suffering and you don't know how to make it stop. And it's not going to stop, because we know how these things end up. God taught me how that they do that. I don't know how they hypnotize people, nor do I want to. I know that they would wave their hand over my face and I would go into a trance. There was a time when I was young that God was preparing for this time in my life and let me see way more than what these people wanted me to. They put me into a trance and they told me to imagine Jesus standing in front of me. And I was all in that. I thought, somebody's got to play Mary and somebody's got to play Joseph and all. And they had this guy standing there who didn't want to play Jesus. And I'm thinking, and they waved their hand over my face while I'm thinking that, while I'm having fun imagining it. And there he was. Not really him. It was a hypnotic delusion. That was not really Jesus at all. And I knew it in my spirit, I think, but at the time I was still enamored and I would go and I'm like, are you really him? I've heard of these other things happening where these people were brutalized by the person that they thought was him. Glory be to God. What I ended up doing was telling this man, who I believed was Jesus, that the mean people needed him. I'm like, these people need you. And they put me back out. It didn't work for them. But God prepared me then to be able to process now, to know that sometimes what you're seeing is not the truth. They can do that. They incriminate people, making them believe that they're engaging in sexual encounters with a smaller adult. They open the doors because they're having improper sexual contact, but they think it's an adult because they're in a trance, and at some point they're pulled out of it and they're let to see that this is not an adult, and they're incriminated. I have heard of that several times. And I would not have understood it if God had not taught me about hypnotic delusions, hypnotic trances, and how damaging this has been to mankind, all of us. It's not just what you see on the news that's upsetting. It's what we see in our workplaces, in our churches. Mankind has been distorted way out of proportion, and I have no doubt that the good Lord is going to come fix it in perfect time, in a perfect way. But we got to get to work. We got to help people pull out. We got to bring people to the kingdom of heaven as quickly as possible. I don't know whether it's 10 years or 1 month before he fixes it. However, there is a war on. When I first accepted that I had been SRA abused, and I was completely over my head. All I knew is some devil worshippers had hurt me really bad, and that was explaining to me why I had dysfunction. So I asked God to take it away. I knew He had the power to absolutely make it as if it never happened, and He said no. I wasn't very happy with that, and I asked Him why, and He said that He needs me to be who I will be when I go through the process His way. When He allowed me to see my memories and see what happened to me and gain an understanding and reconcile it, it not only healed me, it explained an enormous amount about what they're doing. I wrote about a lot of this in my written testimony, which I'll link below, which you can get on a free ebook. Please review it if you do get a free ebook. Also, please review it if you buy the paperback as well. Over the last few years, he's given me quite the understanding of what we need to do about it. And I don't get it right. I don't get it right every day. I get up every day and try to love somebody just like everybody else. I still have to repent daily. I still have to do that. But he gave me a specific job, and I'm going to try to share my healing with everybody I possibly can. Because SRA is not just about the survivors and the family of the survivors. It's about the general public, because these same messages that I was being taught during satanic ritual abuse, I see on television. They block our ability to think independently, because without the ability to think independently, you can't choose God fully. It's a trick. Watch people running to make decisions based on their leadership that don't make any sense. Many of the things he taught me were about myself and my family and why these things happen. Why is this legally allowed to happen? He explained that to me. That was a big one. That's a big one for everybody. Why doesn't God just stop it? Just put your foot down. And he we're going to cry when he starts stomping. So many people are like, oh, why the wrath? People say you fear the wrath of God. I say, no, I'm looking forward. He allows parents to choose how to raise their children. And for their childhood, we are under their domination. We don't want people telling us how to raise our kids. And some people, they feel the same way. The other people feel the same way. It's just some people choose very, very bad. I wrote in my testimony about how God was telling me, he was basically trying to get me to do the sinner's prayer. I was being led to the sinner's prayer by the Almighty. How cool is that? The problem is that I was getting an attitude. I didn't want to admit that I was imperfect, because I had been fighting to say, I'm not the bad guy. No, I don't like this, because they tell you like it, and it's like, no, I don't. And so I got caught in that dysfunction, and he was trying to teach me, bring me to that full, complete commitment, bring me to that full and complete commitment when I was 8 years old, and I was eligible. I was above the age of accountability. I could have done it. I didn't do it until I was 12. So the abuse continued. Each person has to go in a bubble with Jesus themselves, because you have your own families and situations and levels, and there are different witchcraft crafts that are blended into the SRA process, that it's going to be a bit different for each person, and we have to have our own healing. However, often we say, God, please heal me now, and he won't do it. And this is why. Because you've been drafted into the army, and it's the most glorious thing I've ever experienced. I can't imagine anything competing with the experience of just spending that time a day, about a year, 4 hours a day in prayer, scheduled prayer, which started with just me practicing feeling safe with him. For a long time I did that. And it has brought my existence, it has brought me to the front row seat in the glory of God. The wrath of God will come in due time, and perfect way, and perfect force. I so get it. But until then, my babies, we have to start educating our churches. We have to be getting up in the poll. He also taught me that at any point I questioned whether or not I was hearing his voice, whether or not I felt his presence, whether or not I whether or not I felt connected to him, all of those were gauged by the amount of prayer. And Jesus said that specifically. Jesus also said that God would allow in his wisdom what he could easily prevent with his power. If there's anything that I want everybody to take away from this video, is that the glory of God is alive and well. He was with me every step of the way. And if I had listened to his voice, he had given me an out from the very beginning. Yes, he did. He gave me a way out. I didn't take it. He gave me many, many chances to find my way out. He was guiding me. I never left Jesus. He never left me, and I never left him. That's pretty great. So when I had blocked that out, I had blocked out all the glorious, beautiful things that came with it. Because when there is a presence of evil, it seems that there is this massive jolt of good, especially when you're dealing with 6-year-olds.